that people get a bit confused between brand and campaigns. Do you remember when I was on Emma Barnett's show on BBC Radio London? Do you remember that? It
Mm-hmm.
was when the Apple AirPods first came out, and I was on with like some journalists, and they asked me to come on as a brand person, and they were saying, oh, Apple's completely lost its way. They brought out these AirPods. Why would they do that? And I remember like one of the journalists on the panel, when they always want you to argue, saying to me, well, why would you do that? Because like the Nano, the iPod, the Apple Nano, they used to have that campaign with the earpods in and then the string, and they were going, well, that was so iconic. So now they've got these AirPods that they've like lost their brand. And I was like, but you're confusing a campaign with a brand. Apple's values and their brand have been the same since the 1980s. They've never strayed away from it. She was like, oh, but they came up with all that technology. And I was like, no. Apple's never come up with new technology. They take existing technology and they make it Apple in the way they do things. They don't invent things. They didn't invent MP3s. They didn't invent computers. They didn't invent mobile phones. They didn't invent any of those things. They just made it Apple and absolutely dominated the marketplace. And you could see everyone just going, oh yeah, that is a different thing. And I think that's often really, really